Hello everyone, this is Steve Yoder and welcome to week 14, the very last week of the semester in Legal Studies 246 in the fall of 2016 here at the UAB Collat School of Business. In this final week, we are going to be covering two chapters of the textbook. We'll be going backwards a little bit and looking at Chapter 11 of the textbook on business organizations, and we will be covering the very last chapter of the textbook, investor protection and corporate governance. We have those two chapters of the textbook to read. We have two sets of PowerPoint slides. We actually have three separate sets of narrated slides. There are two sets of narrations for the Chapter 11 slides, and there are a couple of additional things for you to do, like watching an NBC News video on starting up a business. Note that there is a quiz on Module 14 covering only business organizations, and importantly, the last exam will close on Tuesday, December 13. Let's start with business organizations. We'll be looking in particular at how to form a business organization. Here are the four major forms that are used to form a business. Many times an entrepreneur will need to choose a business form. Here's a definition of entrepreneur. We will be covering the concept of a franchise, which is a method of operating a business once you have already chosen a legal organization form for it. That's a very important concept. A franchise is not a form of a business organization. It is a way to operate a business. We will be covering the concept of how a business is organized by focusing on a corporation. A corporation has shareholders. Here is a pyramid that I use in courses that I teach on corporate governance, an entire course built just on this topic that we are spending just one part of a learning module on. You can see here the various players in corporate governance with shareholders at the top of the pyramid. Shareholders have protection from liability. That's a very important feature of a business corporation. The owners, the shareholders, are not subject to liability for the acts or omissions of the corporation, so long as they have really operated that business as a corporation. And as we will be discussing, the Internal Revenue Service is very good at piercing through the corporate veil and getting at individual shareholders who have not observed the requirements for operating a corporation. Here's an actual question from the question pool in the third exam. Stop and pause and look at this and make sure you understand why that is the correct answer. You might not get this question, but it will be in the pool. Here's a recent case involving piercing the corporate veil that we will be covering. Another very important concept in the governance of a corporation is the business judgment rule, which protects directors from liability so long as they have done their homework. Finally, we will be covering Chapter 20 of the textbook, Investor Protection. Investors are those who become owners of a corporation by investing in the corporation's securities. Investors really were not protected until the 1930s. It took the great stock market crash of 1929 for people to realize that investors really had very little protection. The Securities Act of 1933 defines what we mean by a security, which is usually what is purchased as an ownership interest or some other relationship with a business corporation, and that definition is very important. When securities are offered to the public for sale, the business that's offering these securities has to file a registration statement with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Here is the actual registration statement that was used when Facebook went public several years ago. Finally, here is the last calendar we'll be looking at in this course. We are in the week of December 5, 2016. We have multiple things due on Tuesday, December 13, 2016, including, very importantly, the third exam covering modules 11, 12, 13, and 14. There are also several quizzes due on that same day. Everything due on Tuesday night, December 13 at 11:59 p.m. Good work getting to the end of this course. I wish you luck on that third exam, and I wish you luck in your professional careers.